In this lecture, we're going to be doing some texture painting, and I'm going to demonstrate how to unwrap using the Smart UV projection tool, which is perfect in combination with the texture paint built into Blender. Now, I don't use Smart UV projection that often, but when I'm texture painting, it's my go-to unwrap tool. And you'll see why as I start to show you how that works. So I'm going to go ahead and create a monkey head and get started. So in order to get this texture painting feature to work, this is one of the modes here, texture paint. There's basically three things that we're going to need to do. So over here you can see it says missing UVs. Another thing that it's missing, although it doesn't say it, is an image. You need to have a canvas to paint on. And finally, you need to have a material to associate that image with. So it's missing a material as well. I can set up the material, I can set up the UVs, and I can set up the image in any order. It doesn't really matter, but I'm going to do it in a specific order that works for me. So let's put this back in object mode and go over to our UV editing window. And the first thing I want to do is set up the UVs. And that can be done using the Smart UV projection tool. The reason why this tool works so well with this texture painting mode is because when you're texture painting, you want to lay everything out flat, and you don't necessarily want to bring it into Photoshop because you're going to be doing your painting in Blender. Now, if you're using Photoshop and Blender to do your painting, then Smart UV projection might not be a good tool for you, and you'll see why in just a moment. But if you're only painting in Blender, then why not use it? It's very quick and very easy. You don't have to spend any amount of time unwrapping this very complicated shape. So let's go into edit mode and see what this looks like. Click on U and just choose Smart UV Project. There's only a couple of fields that I'm going to play with in this lecture. The first being the island margin. I'm going to set that to 0.1. Then finally the angle limit. The angle limit is referring to the angles of all of these edges. And you're basically saying anything that's 66 degrees or greater angle, we want to mark a seam and separate islands based on where those seams get marked. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like if I just hit OK. I'm going to turn on stretching so that we can get a better look at this. Okay, so you see a little bit of stretching in here, and if you really wanted this to look better, you want to eliminate the stretching as much as possible. So I'm going to bring up the tool shelf and modify this just a little bit more. So the angle limit is at 66, and if I want to affect more of the geometry, that means I need to bring the angle limit down. So in other words, it's going to affect, for example, 45 degrees or greater. So you can see that the stretching has been reduced because it's affected more of the geometry. And I can bring this down again to like 30 degrees or greater. And then again, it affected even more geometry because you're lessening the scope of the angles. Eventually, you could bring this down as low as 1. And of course, it's going to take about 30 seconds to a minute for the computer to process that. But I'll bring it down to 10 so it doesn't take quite so long. And you can see that the UV islands are even greater. There's many more of them. I think for me, about 30 is where I want to be because it lays out pretty flat. There's a little bit of stretching, but these are such tiny little spots that I can live with that. So I'm going to go with 30, and let's call it quits on the UVs. Great. The next thing I'm going to want to do is create an image for painting on. Now, I'm actually going to use a little bit higher resolution image. So I'm going to go to New and make a 2048 by 2048 image. Let's name this image something that we can remember. So how about Suzanne? I'm going to change the color to something other than, full black because I want to be able to see. You wouldn't be able to see it if it was black. So I'm going to set just down to gray, somewhere in that area, and hit OK. It's on blank generated type. So this is our new canvas that we can paint on, and let's look at some of the options here. So we've set it up for 2048 by 2048. It's a blank canvas with that color, and if you decided you wanted to fine-tune this, you could always go in here and make changes like right now, okay? And remember, you can still get back to your UV grid and your color grid, and this is your blank canvas. Okay, we're all situated here now. So we've got a UV, we've got an image. What's next? Let's go ahead and create our material next. Back to the default screen, change this to Cycles Render. Go over to the Materials tab and create a new material. Let's name the material something like Suzanne, I guess works. Over next to Color, there's a drop-down menu, this little square here. Click on that and choose Image Texture. Next to the Open button, there's another drop-down, choose Suzanne. Now we have everything that we need. We have our UV, we have an image, and we've wired up the image to our new material. And we've done all this in Cycles Render. Great. I'm going to go back to the UV editing window and turn on Texture Paint. Now we have this new toolbar here, which is basically all of our painting tools. I can immediately start painting on the surface of Suzanne, and you can see that all of the UVs are being selected by the computer. Everything is pretty much automatically done, and this is a very quick and easy way to do your painting. Use your imagination here. This is pretty cool stuff. Just to point out, there's different brushes. You have a texture draw, soften, smear, mask, fill, and clone. So I'm going to go with the texture. You can change your brush size by just sliding this back and forth, or just clicking in there and typing a number. So like if you want a brush size of 10, then you can paint like that. Another thing is the brush strength. I'm going to leave it at 7, but if you want it at full strength, you can paint like this, or I'm going to put it back at 0.7. And you can see that 0.7 allows you to at least build up color a little bit with each new time that you click. If you put it at 0.5, the buildup is even more, you start off with a vague color, and then the next time you go over it, it builds up a little bit more and more each time. So that buildup is very important. It allows you to do something like this. You can start with a very low strength. We'll do this in a different color, and I'll increase the radius of the brush so you can see this building up slowly. So I'm just holding in on my mouse and dragging like this, and then the next time I click, you see it building up on top of that, and then I can drag and hold over it, and then the next time I click, it builds up even more. So that's kind of a cool thing about this, and you can adjust those. But what's very cool about this, let me change the radius of this back to 10. I'm going to change the color, and we'll bring the strength up to about, 0.5 or something like that. I have a Wacom art tablet and a pen, and I've been using my mouse so far, but I want to show you how the Wacom tablet actually functions. So this is my pen right now that you see on the screen, and I want to show you how the pressure sensitivity works. So I'm barely holding the pen down, and then I hold down stronger. I haven't done anything different, just changing the pressure sensitivity on the tablet. Let me undo that and show you again. So I'll start off very light and kind of pick up strength as I go. So that's one of the cool things about the art tablet, is the ability to kind of pressure sensitive painting like this. So I can go real soft over here and press a little bit harder over there and kind of fill things in like that. And it still has the build up thing too, like the mouse had. So you can go over it a second time and build up on that. Very cool stuff. Let's see, what else can I show you? This pen is pretty cool because, it's hard to paint with a mouse. It's pretty easy to come in here with a pen. The only thing that I don't really like about using a pen is you have to go back and forth between my mouse constantly. And I haven't really gotten used to using the pen well enough to be able to mouse around with the pen. Although you can, this is my pen right here. You can come in here, and I'm using my pen to select different tools or whatever. So it does have this functionality, but I haven't configured the pen. I'm not that proficient with the pen, but I am good enough to be able to at least show you that the pressure sensitivity works and you can paint on all the surfaces. So if you feel like investing in an art tablet, if you've been thinking about it, this is just another way that you could make use of an investment like that. Now, hopefully, if you do buy an art tablet, you do better painting than this. And I apologize, Suzanne, but, you got to do what you got to do. Anyway, that's enough for me on this subject. Go in here and practice this. It's a lot of fun. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the discussions. I'll try to answer you as quick as I can. If you paint something really cool and you want to share it, feel free to drop a screenshot in the discussions as well. So have fun with this. I'll see you in the next lecture.